Why do you vote Conservative?
Because I am a homeowner and I want to see my asset value increase. That's it. The real enemy of working people is not people who are on welfare payments. It's the employers, it's the bosses, it's the bourgeois, it's the shareholders. On your screen right now, this woman is a misandrist. Calling her out. You're being cucked. You are literally, billionaires are having sex with that man's wife right now.
Our granddads would turn in their grave to see what's happening today.
Asking the safest Conservative seat in Britain if they regret it, and the answers that they give are mind-blowing. So we're going to watch this bit and we're going to react to it, and that is extra content for me to put on YouTube, because I know full well that Joe Politics do not copyright strike me for it. So let's go.
Our granddads would turn in their grave to see what's happening today.
You might as well take them off the list next election, because Conservatives will never get back in, they're finished.
If you could give the government one message, what would it be?
I think it's stop handing out benefits to those that don't really need them.
Like subsidies for the farming industry and also to the fucking royal family. There you go, the biggest benefit scroungers in the country, the royal family.
Because a lot of them are just spending the money on alcohol or drugs and start giving it...
Yeah, it's not like you spend your money on alcohol or drugs. It's not like anyone who isn't on benefits spends money on drugs or alcohol to be able to numb the pain of existence.
The people that do need it.
I do get £11 a day. The same as what anyone that comes up on the beach get. But I don't get my rent paid, I don't get my food, and this is what puts me off of voting Conservative. Someone's got to do something.
Yeah, the Conservatives aren't mean enough to people fleeing persecution overseas, right? That's the issue with the Conservative Party. And again, it's the same crab bucket mentality where it's not things are bad for me, it's that things are bad for me, but they should be worse for somebody else. That's it. It's not, they don't want to lift the tide to raise all the boats. They just want, as long as someone else is more miserable than them, it doesn't matter who has to benefit, who's better than them personally, or somebody who's benefiting from, you know, the government subsidies I mentioned before, etc., etc. Benefit Street has done more damage than we can imagine. Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Do you vote Conservative?
Yes.
Why do you vote Conservative?
Because I am a homeowner and I want to see my asset value increase. That's it. It's the only reason these people vote Conservative.
Because I feel like I'm better off than an awful lot of people.
Yeah, well, there you go. They're literally just fucking admitting it. They're literally admitting it. Like, I am in a privileged position, and I would like to keep hold of that privileged position, please. I would like to protect my place in the socio-economic hierarchy of the UK.
I'm a pensioner, so I only live on a basic pension, but I was always taught to manage on whatever money I'd got.
Why is there such big support for the Conservatives?
As opposed to agitate for change to get better? I mean, to be fair, what you're getting from your triple lock pension far exceeds what people get on minimum wage anyway, as far as, you know, in comparison to the amount of additional money that you're getting to deal with the inflationary crisis.
Do you think?
I'm not sure that there is anymore.
Really? Why is that?
I just don't think the Conservatives are living up to everything that they promised.
I vote Conservative because I'm self-employed. So if you wanted to stay in a job, you had to be Conservative.
Whereas now...
That doesn't even make any sense. What? Why is the Conservative government a necessary thing for you if you are self-employed, right? If you're a small business owner, maybe, and you employed other people, you want to be able to get more money and more work out of the people that you employ. But if you're personally self-employed, why does that make any? Doesn't make any fucking sense. 100% 255, and that happens all the time as well. In that people will only think of people they don't know as being welfare cheats, right? They will always try on other people who they don't personally know, in the same way that they would have all of the help and sympathy in the world if someone they were related to was homeless. But if it's someone that they can belittle and demonize who's homeless, who they don't know, they don't have a personal connection to, they will post hoc rationalize to think that, oh, well, they must have got themselves in this position in the first place, so they must deserve it. It's the same just world fallacy shit I was talking about in the last stream.
I think a lot of people have never had to work, or never have worked, not had to, but never have worked. They are more Labour inclined, because they see Conservatives as better off.
I mean, most Conservatives are, because you guys got houses on the cheap, and then the consistent governments tried to make sure that those assets gained in price over time. Like, literally, is it any, like, and they say, oh, well, the people who are on benefits, they more vote Labour. And I'm like, well, yeah, obviously, like, but also people who are working should also vote Labour because they're also better off under Labour. Like, even under the grotesque, mangled corpse of Labour that is what Starmer is presenting as being the Labour Party, right? Even that is better than the Conservative Party if you're somebody who actually is a working person who works for a living, right? It turns out, right, that the real enemy of working people is not people who are on welfare payments, it's the employers, it's the bosses, it's the bourgeois, it's the shareholders, right? Those are the enemies. Not someone down the road getting paid a pittance on job seekers allowance or universal credit.
Whether we are or not is a different story.
You might as well take them off the list next election because Conservatives will never get back in. They're finished. Yeah, they can take the House of Lords with them and all. Just a waste of time. And the biggest thing that makes me laugh about this mayor, he wants the fumes off the road, but he wants to legalise cannabis.
To be fair,
yeah, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. We had like Kwasi Kwarteng saying that, oh, well, we need to cut benefits to be able to increase our workforce participation rate. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute. If the sole arbiter of whether or not we had a low workforce participation rate or not was how lucrative our benefits were, then why are our benefits way worse than all of the other countries in Europe, yet they still have higher workforce participation rates than we do? These other countries are offering it more money for people who just stay at home and not work, yet they still have higher labour force participation rates. It's almost like right, little trick, little like nugget of information for you guys at home, right? If you don't make work pay, you don't make work attractive, and you don't make work something that people can build into a career with proper terms, proper conditions, and proper benefits to being in a job, people won't want to fucking do them, right? If you don't make work pay, why the fuck should anyone have to work, right? If all your work is doing is grueling away in your 50 hours a week, doing something that you hate for pittance with no benefits, why shouldn't people just sit around on benefits when actually doing the work and building the wealth of civilization doesn't pay you a fucking good enough wage or give you any proper benefits, right? Of course our labour force participation rate is low because work doesn't pay the bills. Having one job doesn't even pay the bills for some people as well, right? I mean, it definitely is Twat Island, that's true. And yeah, you're absolutely right, it is emotionally driven, right? Because if they were looking at this from a fact-based perspective and looking at welfare, and like, well, hang on a minute, welfare payments that get paid out, they just get spent on consumer items, which goes back into the economy, gets taxed on VAT, goes back and gets reinvested by the businesses that have that money spent in. Plus, you know, they all think that, oh, it's my taxpayers' money. Like, newsflash, your taxes don't pay for anything. Money is created by the central bank when the government spends it. Tax is a measure of is only used as a measure of control of aggregate demand and of driving demand for currency. Your taxes are not paying for other people to be on benefits. That's not how the economy works in the year of our Lord 2022. You're being sold the lie of the government's budget being like a household budget just so that people can pit you as a working person against someone who's on welfare payments.
I don't even know if I'll vote next time.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you vote last time?
I did.
Did you vote Conservative?
I did.
Why did you vote Conservative last time?
Because I liked what they stood for. I feel a bit let down with the Boris situation. I also appreciate that it was unprecedented.
Well, yeah, exactly, 255. Yeah, and I think there are a lot of kind of, you know, like lefty liberal type people who would just continually vote Labour. And I think people in the Red Wall voted Labour historically, right? Like the Red Wall Labour vote was never really in material conditions. Like, these people are aging and they're homeowners. They were more likely to drift over to the right as time went on. And it's only because of what Thatcher did to the manufacturing in those areas that the Red Wall maintained itself for as long as it did. Because it really was not in their material conditions to vote Labour in 2017 or 2019. That was the case about kind of 6 months ago during the kind of Boris Johnson fiasco, JDM, where just Tory voters were kind of dropping out of the voter pool. But since the mortgage crisis that came from the Truss administration and the fiscal event, there are actually people who are switching from Tory to Labour now, which is why I kind of shifted my perspective on whether or not I thought Labour would win the next election, because I think they absolutely will now, because once those voters have kind of drifted over and they've concretely said, I will change who I'll vote for, I don't think they're coming back. I really don't. I think that it's a foregone conclusion at this point, unless Starmer does something really bad, which he'd have to get the Liberals to not vote for it.
Precedented, and no one had ever been through anything like this before. But it's the fact that sometimes they treat the general public, and I think all MPs do it, as if we've not got a brain. If he'd have said...
I mean, if you voted Tory all up to this time, then, yeah, I mean, that's why they keep getting your vote. I'm sorry. Like, I hate to insult random members of the public, because most members of the public are just victims of manufactured consent, right? We all know this. We all know that when you're literally talking about benefit scroungers and boats in the channel, all these manufactured talking points that don't really have any material detriment to the actual people of this country. It's just not a political football game, a spectacle to whip up frenzy and whip up people into specific voting patterns, just like all the trans stuff is, right? All the trans stuff is the media trying to push people from the, like, trying to get left-wing feminist types to vote for right-wing parties over perceived scare games over, you know, and scaremongering over the existence of trans people. That's all this shit is, right? It's just manufactured consent at the end of the day, right? And people have lives to live. People have, you know, kids to clothe and meals that need putting on plates, right? They need to be able to deal with the cost of living crisis and stuff like that. And you know, when you've got loads of shit that you need to deal with, it's you can't spend half your life like I do, half of the non-life that I have, spending time researching every single policy and its impacts in detail. People don't have to do that, so they have to rely on the media to be able to report things truthfully, to be able to be informed enough to be able to vote properly, and they don't, because the media are full of fucking hacks who all went to private school, who all went to Oxford and Cambridge, mostly Oxford.
Did the wrong thing. I shouldn't have allowed the parties. He'd still been in power, because I think he was a good leader.
I mean, if Boris...
Yeah, was he a good leader when he was conspiring to have journalists beaten up? Was he a good leader when he was calling gay men tank top bum boys? Was he a good leader when he was privatising huge swathes of the NHS, right? Was he a good leader when he'd done all of the scandals with regards to Owen Patts and all that kind of stuff, and Chris Pincher? It's bigger than Partygate, mate. Partygate is fucking the fly in the ointment as far as I'm concerned. Everyone needs at least one politics nerd friend. True. And it should be me. I should be everyone's friend.
Boris was still in charge, would they get your vote?
I think he would.
And Mr. Hunt and Mr. Is it Fishy Sunak or something, his name?
Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, well, they stitched Boris up. We didn't have all this going on. And they stitched him up because he delivered Brexit. And now eventually they're trying to push...
No, he was just a rancid human being, right? Like, I think he's a better prime minister than Rishi Sunak on policy. Like, don't get me wrong, I did do literally a shill segment for Boris Johnson, right? That doesn't not make him a horrendous human being on basically every single possible metric. You don't mind commie blocks as long as you don't get stuck there and the system in place to move up. Well, 100%, yeah, absolutely.
Back into that. This is not England no more. We've always had foreign people here. It's nothing to do with racism. They keep saying that. It's wrong. When I went to London as a boy, Turkish, every nationality, we've always got on. But when the people keep blowing the trumpet about things, and we're now the second-class citizens in this country. It's silly, really, isn't it? What else can you say?
I mean, you have always been second-class citizens because you are not a member of the bourgeois. Like, I'm sorry, you've always been a second-class citizen, but you were not second-class to immigrants or refugees, for fuck's sake. It was to your boss, it was to your employer, it's to the billionaires and the oligarchs. I can't believe that you're allowing them to you. Again, you are just cucking yourself. You're being cucked. You are literally, billionaires are having sex with that man's wife right now. Figuratively speaking.
I've always voted Conservative, but I'm not sure this time. Forget COVID. no one knew that was coming. No one, could anyone done any better? I don't know, because we're never going to see it in our lifetime again. But I think they're going down the wrong road. They're more for the richer.
As a parliamentary...
Oh, are they more for the richer? I didn't realise. It's only just now that man said it that I realised that Conservatives only do policy to benefit rich people. Oh, I wish someone would have told me.
Constituency, it's been Conservative. It has been as long as I can remember. It's not because it's a middle class or above area. In fact, it's probably completely different. It's more working class, working people constituency. But a lot of that came from people that moved here during the building boom. So a lot of these people that are from working backgrounds are tradesmen. Yeah, so obviously tradesmen and free trade and free businesses and that seems to be more of a Conservative issue than it is a socialist issue.
Are one of a group of...
Do you vote Conservative?
That's for me to say, but yeah, so I'm not going to say who I vote for because that's my issue. But
If you weren't to vote Conservative, what would you vote?
Well, it won't, it can't.
No worries, Scrippy. It's absolutely fine. Yeah, I managed to get the link though. Cheers. But like, and he should say, well, if you're a tradesman, why is it? And again, just another self-employed person. Why is it better voting Tory than Labour? I genuinely don't get it. What policies are you voting for as a tradie that's better for you when the Tories are in power? I just don't get it. You genuinely feel like you understand the GOP more than British Tories. Like, they've been propagandised into literally believing the Dems are evil with religious indoctrination, but Tory voters seem to have a semi-sensible worldview, but somehow think the Tories are better at running the country despite all the evidence. Yeah, it's really strange. Like, you can understand, like, the brain poison that's being fed to people who vote Republican because they're all, they buy into kind of that religious zealotry, as you mentioned there, 255. And it's very strange that in the UK, like, they'll go, yeah, the Tories have ruined the country, they did this and that, and I didn't like this thing that they did, and all of this policy had a bunch of negative externalities that have negatively affected my life, and things are a lot worse than they were now. But yeah, I wouldn't vote Labour though. No, I can't be voting Labour. It's a really, really strange set of opinions these people have. The relationship between politicians and the media is unique in the UK. 100%, and it's the private schools and it's Oxford and Cambridge. That's it. It's people who knew each other from school writing stories about other people that they knew from school who are in positions of power, so they give them favourable coverage.
Vote Labour, can you, with that idiot in charge? I mean, what's he going to do? I don't think Labour can help us. I don't know who you can have in, mate. I really don't know.
But I do think there's a lot of things that need to be addressed and that aren't being addressed.
What would you like to see addressed?
The immigration problem that we've got coming across the channel, it's costing 7 million, so I'm told, a day. That could all go into the NHS.
Oh, 7 million a day, is it? Oh, okay. So what? I mean, like £1 billion a year? Just over £1 billion a year? Brilliant. That is literally fucking 1% of the NHS budget. like, I don't think these people quite realise. Again, like, I heard people kept saying things like, this guy called Count Deedless on TikTok. I watched a video that he did about the NHS and saying that, well, that like they're putting more money into the NHS. Well, they say they're putting more money into the NHS, but what? This is for diversity, equity, and inclusion officers in the NHS. I'm like, you do realise that accounts for 0.00005% of the annual NHS budget for diversity, equity, and inclusion officers, right? This is nothing. That is the tiniest, most minuscule percentage. But you've been propagandized to a bunch of media ghouls into thinking that this is somehow like the reason why the NHS is in crisis was because there's too many people there whose job it is to make sure that people aren't being too racist in the NHS as a hiring practice, right? Like, no. The issue is the privatization. The issue is the gigantic amount of fees that we pay out in shareholders to private companies that we pay to run like NHS services. That's it. It's nothing to do with these weird nonsense cultural issues. These people drive me fucking insane. Really, genuinely insane. Constantly thinking about immigrants. Well, it's propaganda. From like, you look at let me bring up Talk TV one sec, right? Let me bring up Talk TV, and we'll look at which segments that they do that get views, right? Let's have a look at the segments they have on their channel then. Which ones have got the most views? Like Meghan Markle's ones gets big views. Stuff about trans people, that gets loads of views. And stuff about the royal family, that gets loads of views. Let me go back to another big thing. Look, royal family again. Where's the stuff over? Actually, we have to go back a little bit further over, like the boats and shit like that. Yeah, 19k. Another big thing. Loads of views over the migrant crisis again. HK with the £10 of donation and super chat that puts me over my withdrawal limit on YouTube. I much appreciate for the support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, as you can see here, like, the reason why they get propagandized to is because these things get loads of views. They hook people in on a moral panic and then use it to be able to generate more revenue. It just so happens that it also helps them from a political angle as well. Emotionally driven non-issues, exactly. It's all emotionally driven. Make people angry, get them riled up, and then turn them into a consumer demographic because of it.
And I think I don't know how they're going to do it, but obviously some of these are young men and they shouldn't be here because they're not.
Yeah, because men can never be fleeing persecution. If you're a man, you should die, according to this person right here. This person is this is misandry. This is misandry, folks. On your screen right now, this woman is a misandrist. Calling her out.
Not where they come from. There's not a war zone. Ukraine is totally different. Yes, we must welcome them.
How has Canby changed in the past 10 years?
Well, it's much more built up than it was now. A lot of people, like I say, have moved to the island and they've become islanders. So the population is slightly different than it was when I was growing up. And there's been an influx of, like everywhere in the country, an influx from people from different ethnic backgrounds. And I don't know if you are aware, but recently there's been a big influx of Orthodox Jews from London. So that sort of thing happens to a lot of towns. If you go to the east of the country, you've got lots of people from Eastern Europe, etc. So I think it's been a benefit to the island, and that it's more diverse. So really, it's just really. I think it's got to a situation now where there's enough people on the island now for the services and facilities to cope with.
But there's not enough people. There's loads of job shortages. People can't get, like, fruit pickers. They can't get factory workers. There's not enough people here to do the jobs. We just had a pandemic where loads of people died. There needs to be more people. We need to increase the productivity, increase the money going into the exchequer, because the people that are coming in here to work in this country, who are immigrating to this country to be able to work, right? They're paying these people's pensions, right? These people's pensions are going to get paid by taxes paid by not only just the actual taxes that they pay, but the productivity gains of people coming into the country from overseas. Let me find out. Castle Point in Essex.
You know, I've been self-employed all my life. I've been off work 2.5 years. I don't get any money because I'm self-employed. And I've got over 16,000 in the bank. So they don't pay me nothing. I'm not entitled to it.
And that's the thing. People are all high and mighty on voting for the Tories over and over and over again, thinking, oh, well, I'm in a good position right now, so I want to maximise that as much as I can by stripping away the safety net in this country. Because they don't realise that if something might go wrong, like, say, a pandemic might happen, that then they might be the people that are relying on those social safety nets. And then they don't realise that, that they are, even if they're a lucratively well-off, self-employed person, right? They are always going to be closer to the immigrant arriving on the dinghy than they are going to be to the billionaire or the shareholders that own the company that they work for. They don't realise that. They don't realise that the people, the hugely wealthy oligarchs that donate to the Conservative Party are far further away from them than than the migrants who are coming to this country to be able to work for pittance or whatever it is, right? They don't get that they're always closer to the people on welfare than they are to the oligarchs of this country. And until they learn that, until they understand that, they're going to continue screwing themselves over, just like this guy has. And I feel sorry for him. He shouldn't have to live off pittance every week, right?
But now, I do get £11 a day. The same as what anyone that comes up on the beach get. But I don't get my rent paid, I don't get my food, and this is what puts me off of voting Conservative. Someone's got to do something.
And, you know, there's a lot of homeless here. People are struggling. Food banks on the island, you know, young families that work.
You have voted Conservative all your life. They've been in power for 12 years. Did anyone know what a food bank was before 2010? No. Oh, well, can you not just put 2 and 2 together, you stupid bitch? I'm sorry. Like, are you literally complaining in the video before about how politicians treat you like you're stupid? I'm like, yeah, it's because you are fucking stupid. I'm sorry. Like, you can't. How can you not just put simple 2 and 2 together and understand the massive rise in homeless, the massive rise in food bank usage, the massive drop in living standards, the massive squeeze on workers' wages coincided with the Conservative Party coming to power? Like, come on. It's so obvious.
Hard.
She put 2 and 2 together and got racism.
You know, they don't know how they're going to heat their homes or whether they're going to eat, and then we're putting people up in hotels. It's not right.
Yeah, and you're like, then you're blaming some people who get even less. You're blaming random immigrants fleeing from Syria, where there's a civil war, or fleeing from Afghanistan, where the Taliban are persecuting members of the public for not adhering to Sharia law or whatever, right? These people fleeing persecution and civil war, and you're out here going, yeah, the problem is we've got all these homeless people and we've got food banks and an energy crisis, right? And the problem isn't the fact that millions upon billions upon trillions of pounds of gross domestic product is being sucked up by shareholders and oligarchs and billionaires and CEOs and directors, and you're instead blaming somebody who's fleeing from Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria. Do you not realise how propagandised you'd have to be to think that those people are the problem?
It's not right.
450 people got off boats at Dover on Sunday, just for the benefits. That's why they're coming here. France is empty. Go to Bordeaux, Dijon, all around there. Miles and miles of places they could live.
Yeah, I wonder if this guy understands the intricacies of the Dublin Agreement.
With benefits, so they come here.
I mean, we were a rich company years ago when I was younger. We owned British Telecom, we had British Gas, we owned Dartford Tunnel. We've sold it all off to foreign nationalities. And now
Which party did that? Which Conservative Party, which ideology was the one that decided that we had to sell off all the public asset to foreign companies and turn them into profit-seeking entities rather than public services? Crazy thought. That's the party that you keep fucking voting for. That's neoliberalism. That's the shit that you keep voting for, you fucking idiot.
the ones that are profiting now. I mean, we sold BT off making something like 60,000 an hour or a minute, and we sold it. Who would sell a business that's making that type of money?
Neoliberals would, because they believe that their mates in the private sector are more important than you. And you are a mug because you kept voting for that shit.
Would you sell it? No. But we sold it, and we sold it to the French, I think, wasn't it? You know, I don't know, you know, it's just ridiculous. The French own half of that now. You know.
New Labour didn't reverse it, and they did get extra private involvement in other stuff as well. Obviously, we all know about PFIs, don't we? Then you can't. Like, that's true, JDM. He probably does care more about it being in foreign hands than whether or not it's privatised or not. But you can always make that point and say, you know, the only way that you can guarantee it stays British is if it's nationalised, if it's in public hands, right?
I mean, I really don't know what they're going to do. And I don't think Conservatives can even sort it out because there's too much arguing going on in there. You know, some want this, some want that, you know. You should do what that man says. When we vote for Conservatives and you say to me you're going to change these roads, that's what I'm voting for. But you don't do it. You do what you want to do.
Yeah, because they don't believe in the public sector doing things for the benefit of the populace. They believe in siphoning money into the private sector. What did you expect?
You're not doing what they said. You know, they're supposed to put the pensions up with the inflation. They keep cutting it off. They're going to do it this time because they know full well if they hadn't done it this time, there'd been an uproar in this country.
I mean, they've always risen with inflation. When was the last time we didn't have the triple lock on pension?
But they've stopped it every year. But they agreed that when they got in. But they haven't done it. It's the first time they've done it. You know, these poor people, you know, the poor pensioners, they've got nothing, mate. You know, I mean, I worked all my life. My father said to me when I was 15, get out, because I'm not keeping you. Today you've got these young girls, they go out and have 3 or 4 kids and never work in their life. But we have to keep them.
I'm glad that they're living their best life, right? At the end of the day, that's far less concerning to me than gigantic mega corporations siphoning money out of the country into private equity bank accounts in the fucking Cayman Islands.
You know, and I had a young fella say to me, why should I be paying for your pension? Well, I paid my national insurance tax all my life, mate. I paid for my own pension. You ain't paying for it.
I'm sorry, that's not how pensions work. You don't pay for your own pension. Even if you do believe in a Keynesian model of the economy, people's pensions now are being paid by workers now. You don't buy into the system to then get paid out later. It's a consequence of people working at the same time as you that pays your pension. That's not how it works, and it's never how it has worked before.
And then, if you could give the government one message, what would it be?
I think it's stop handing out benefits to those that don't really need them, because
You're absolutely right, JDM. Like, literally, like, Benefit Street and shit like that has just destroyed the minds of a generation of people. It really has.
a lot of them are just spending the money on alcohol or drugs, and start giving it to the people that do need it. Those that are homeless, those that are disabled. Yeah.
But they don't give it to the disabled either. We've had 12 years of cuts to disability benefit. Again, we literally had a UN probe about violation of human rights of the disabled during the Cameron and Osborne administration. That's the government you keep voting for. The government you keep voting for that won't build the houses to put the homeless people in, right? Like, do not link these two fucking things, you stupid bellend. Come on. Think for 5 minutes in your short existence on this godforsaken planet to put 2 and 2 together. For fuck's sake.
Our granddads would turn in their grave to see what's happening today. You know, you go over Izzy's, across there, cup of coffee, £3. Come on, mate, it's 1 spoonful of coffee and a bit of water. Ain't cost you 10p, but you're charging me £3.50 or £3. Where's the logic in it? You know, look,
Well, actually, if you made your coffee at home, you'd be able to save yourself £2.19 to afford a deposit on a house.
people are getting away with it all. You know, the government ain't interested. You know, they're going to put diesel up next year. They reckon it could be up to 12 pence a litre. They're going to put tax on it.
Because the last few years we have had a lovely time, really, and then it's just all gone pear-shaped now.
The last few years have been good.
Well, it seemed to be, you know, when you talk to people and stuff like, look what everyone's charging, look what building materials are costing. Stupid. Stupid. They need people to sit down, conscientious people want to do the job. Too many, I'm not sorry about the word, but there's too many drama queens out there as well. You know, if you went up to someone and asked them a time, they'll collapse about it.
You're being a drama queen about a very small number of immigrants trying to land in the country because all of the safe routes have been blocked by government deliberately trying to turn them into a political point-scoring game, right? You're being a drama queen about the immigration problem that you think that exists, right? You're also being a drama queen. Like the hypocrisy is giving me heart palpitations.
I had a heart attack because you startled them all like this, and I might have raised my voice. Ain't my world.
I mean, it literally is you. I'm glad that ended because I'm seriously in danger of having a cardiac arrest after that. I think he would have a fit if you pointed that out to him. Well, again, like rightoids are just always the fucking snowflakes. Right wingers, they are the people who will not get mad about things they should get mad about, yet will get mad about coffee cups being the wrong colour, or get mad about seeing the wrong colour face of someone on TV or whatever, some shit like that. They love to hate immigrants and will sing Robbie Williams' Angels on karaoke. Oh dear, well that hurt my brain. Also, please like, comment and subscribe, and ring the bell on YouTube because it'll notify you when I go live in future. So please do that thing. And become a member for 99p. It's really cheap.